My name's Jane Taylor, and I'm working with a number of colleagues within the Public Health program and the Paramedic Science program to implement a flipped classroom approach in our teaching and learning.
And my name is Rachel Cole. I'm in the public health team with Jane Taylor, and I'm a part of the project as well.
We initially decided to flip our classrooms in late 2012. A few reasons around probably trying to increase engagement of students in sort of the traditional lecture tutorial structure. Also to add a probably bit of spice to our teaching, and probably pedagogically to try and sort of align a bit more with more constructivist principles of teaching and learning, which for me anyway, I didn't feel that was necessarily happening. So we started our pilot of our program in 2013, semester one, where our team focused on getting our own backyard in order and looking at our actual teaching practice.
Yeah, it was a really good semester for us to start to feel a little bit more comfortable with the approach and how it would look and some of the techniques that we could use that students also felt comfortable with. So it was a really good learning curve for us before we went too far into the process.
So once we felt confident with what it actually meant to flip and what it involved because it involved quite a lot of redesign and replanning of our courses, then we applied for a grant through CSALT, and we were lucky enough to win a grant that has supported us to move into developing the flipped process and the evaluation of the flipped process in our actual teaching courses and we've got 3 semesters of that. So our second semester, 2013, is where we focused on our first student group, so our undergraduate mainly, and we've also got some postgraduate courses as well in public health anyway. So now we're into full implementation for 2014. And doing lots of fun things in that space in terms of design and technologies and how we are actually going to evaluate the impact on student learning outcomes.
Yep. And we've actually changed the structure of how we're delivering our courses this year in terms of it's fully flipped, so we're expecting students to come into the classroom having done their preparation, and we're actually, instead of having a traditional lecture, we'll actually be delivering a workshop environment as a part of the in-class teaching. So what we're doing, instead of having the traditional lecture and the traditional tutorial, what we're doing is we're asking students to do some preparation activities before they come to class, and they could be anything from a short e-lecture, anything from 5 minutes up to 10 minutes in length, or a short YouTube clip which we ask them to take a look at, and we ask them some reflection questions about that particular clip which they bring the answers into class, or we might get them to perform a little bit of a reflection survey as they're doing their pre-class activities. Then they'll come into what we've called a workshop, which is a 3-hour workshop where we're able to take the content that they've been exposed to in the pre-class activities, and we're able to extend on that in the classroom where they're able to actually apply what they've learnt in a lot more detail.
I think, and in the design of our courses, I think it prompted a really good look at what we were actually doing and the way we were doing it, and a review of our course structures, I think, in lots of ways, and what we've done now in terms of planning for our flipped approach in each course is develop a big map for the semester, which outlines for each week the pre-activities that students need to complete, which Rachel just talked about just now. And they might also be readings and other bits and bobs, wikis, discussions. Then we design the in-class activities. And I think the other different thing about the in-class activities is that we were able to embed a lot more focus on assessment. So I think that's been and the explicit embedding of assessment into the learning activities, and we actually found it was quite easy to link that to the pre-engagement activities as well. So I think assessment is much more explicit in what we're doing in the design of our courses and in the content. So it's helped us to rationalise, I think, some of our assessment items and approaches.
And I think it enables us to take some of the content that we were traditionally delivering in those classes and really apply it in a discipline-specific way, which is what they would do out in the real world. And one of the ways we do sell this approach in the classroom too is that if you do the pre-class activities before you come in and you have a good handle on the knowledge and some of the content, we're able to spend a little bit more time on their assessment. So it's a bit of a trade-off for them, and we find that works quite well.
Yeah. And the other thing in the design of the pre and in-class learning activities, we've used Bloom's taxonomy as well. So sort of the lower order Bloom's taxonomy levels we've used to try and determine our pre-class activities, and then in the workshop then we can sort of scaffold the activities up to be a little bit more challenging. I think a program approach has been really useful because there's more than one person to talk to. So we're able to work through some of the challenges, particularly around the technologies for me. I'm not as apt technologically as I would like to be, or need to be probably, for some of this the engagement with technologies that the flipped classroom provides the opportunity for. So in terms, with problem solving around the design of our teaching and learning activities and the technologies, the team approach has been really, really valuable for that purpose.
And even brainstorming some of the ideas of how we might facilitate some of the activities in class, because we do get students up and about a little bit more and engaging with each other and problem solving and working through issues. We can bounce ideas off each other as to what sort of activities work and how we facilitate that group work and that sort of thing. For me, the biggest time-consuming part of all this is learning those technologies that we haven't traditionally learnt. And it's also the preparation of that pre-class engagement activities. They take a lot of time thinking through how they're going to work in combination with the in-class stuff and also the stuff we're doing in assessment. And often they take a lot more time than what the in-class activities take to prepare as well, which has been interesting, which I wasn't expecting.
And one of the things I really like about this semester compared to 12 months ago when we were just starting is that we can look back and go, well, that really works and that really works. So I think over time the efficiency of your course and your preps enhances, but in the beginning it's quite time intensive.
I suppose the sort of feedback that we're getting from students about this approach is mixed. In the whole, it's quite positive, but we do have some students that would prefer a lecture environment where they're a little bit more passive and they can just take notes or zone out or whatever they do in a traditional lecture. So we have had a little bit of resistance to the group work that happens in our workshops that wouldn't probably happen in normal traditional lectures. But overall, I think one of the things that students particularly like is that all the pre-activities and pre-activity materials are all online. So if they don't get a concept that we're talking about in the classroom, they can refer back to those e-lectures, to those resources, to those readings or whatever they are. And that's some of the positive comments that we do get from feedback from students.
One of the things I'm most excited about the actual research grant that we got is the focus of the grant being on evaluating the impact of the flipped process on student engagement in learning. And so we've been through the process of developing a draft instrument to evaluate that impact. And so I'm quite excited about that and the potential of that instrument in the longer term. And I suppose that process has also helped us to really think through and better understand what constitutes student engagement in the sort of class learning environment as well.
I suppose the flipped classroom for me, it has been a lot of hard work. It's been good work though. I think it's improved out at the courses that I've been involved in. But I think the in-class experience from this flipped classroom approach is a lot more rewarding for me. I can see students engaging more. I can see students learning more from what we're able to do in the classroom because they're doing the pre-class activities.
I've really enjoyed the whole redesign process that the being involved in the flipped classroom approach has facilitated. I think that's been really fun. It's made me think really critically about what I do and why I'm doing what I do, which is good. And it's helped me to be really excited about my teaching again.